All right, I'm here at One Collectible with Gordon Cole.
Hi everyone, I'm Gordon.
Yes. Two-time Singapore national champion and the recently crowned Manila calling champion. How was that?
It feels great. Yeah.
Yes. And we are doing a new deck tag. This is the deck you took to win the whole calling. Let's
Yes.
start with the tournament.
Okay, yeah. We're gonna start the
Let's
tournament.
Swiss round to the top eight.
Okay, so I'm just gonna cut short. I'll probably talk about my two losses in the event. So my first loss, I think, was to Kaiser. We were playing the new mirror and it was pretty close. It was really very close. What happened was he managed to banish my Secret Art off the top of my deck. And then he used it to target my surgical and played my surgicals against me. And within the next hand, he drew his passover. So he banished more surgicals and he closed the game from there. Although I had about a 10 life lead, getting my own surgical banished against me didn't feel too great. And so that was how I lost the game. My second loss was to David Yao, also from Blue Peach. The game was very close. I think I made a mistake somewhere along the way where I think I could have blocked more that turn. But I instead chose to take some damage and return some insignificant amount of damage.
No, he was playing?
Yeah, he was playing Zen.
Okay.
Yeah, so those were my two losses. But I'm glad that I actually lost to David. After I lost to him, I figured out that, well, I could improve my Zen matchup or my playstyle in the Zen in a few ways. And then it really helped when I played his teammate next, which is Nova. And then when I played him in the top 4, I felt like my loss to him mattered quite a bit because I learned better things that I could do. So I would say that as I played the event, I improved with the deck. So my loss to Kaiser was in round 3. My loss to David was, I think, the second last round. So round 10? And then when I played in top 8, I played against Brody. One thing that new players have to look out for is this very irritating blue card called Snack, which all the Blue Peach players, they run 3 of, from what I can tell. So, but Brody didn't run any Snack, so that means just a nick was go time. You can just always toss it out, and I think that made the game a bit smoother. And then after that, in top 4, as I was speaking just now, I managed to pair into David again. But this time around, I didn't make as much mistakes. And he got pretty unlucky because he didn't get to draw his Art of Wars early enough. And by the time he drew his Art of War, he was out of attacks. So I guess I kind of high-rolled him in the sense that he drew pretty badly. Of course, in the finals, I played Justin. So the game was live. Was played live for everyone to see. Nothing much to say except that I guess I drew pretty well. And he got off to a very slow start, finding his items and piecing things together. So we got to start again, right? So Nu, this is the best hero. Not the best, it was the best hero for me for the event because I didn't really want to play Zen. So you rarely use this ability except against Victor and KO. So usually you play these 4 equipments, which everyone knows. The glove slot, tunic is tunic, and I guess all of them are MVPs because the Undertale, the Stilettos and the Rousing Waves, what they do is that they actually trigger 2 attack reactions. So they're pretty good together with Bonds of Agony. So Tunic being Tunic, the 1 resource is actually quite important most of the time, especially against Zen, where you can use the Tunic resource to swing your skill pillars first and then follow up by an attack so you deny the armor. And then for this is probably the MVP equipment because you can pitch a chi and take a card from your opponent forcefully. So regardless, you always limit the hand size, and that makes your game a bit easier and improves your disruption capabilities. So Beckoning Mistblade is the card that enables all your blue attacks. Most of the time with level, surgical, prognosis behind. When you attack with the Mistblade first, your opponent will have to make an educated guess on what's coming next. So sometimes it could just be nothing, right? So they take it and they take another dagger and then follow up by a CNC. But sometimes if they take it, they could be facing a prognosis or they could be facing a surgical, and then that makes things really difficult for them because they got to decide whether your next card is an attack reaction or it's going to be another disruption card. And if they guess wrong or they're not ready for it, they're probably going to end up passing their turn back to you. Yep. So next, we have Spider's Bite. This is in for probably matchups where your opponents do not have as much armor. And the skill pillar is for matchups where your opponent has a lot of armor. So we're talking about Victor, KO, Zen, things like that. And then for Spider's Bite, probably be talking about decks like Riptide, Azalea, basically things that don't have a lot of armor. And then you probably bring in Spider's Bite. We decided to just bring AB2. There's a possibility that with this AB2 suite, we still have Oasis in the sideboard, so we could potentially beat the non-pitch stack Kanos. We felt that AB2 was enough. We didn't really want to bring in the third AB because sometimes you just don't have enough pitch to block out the AB, to block out the arcane damage anyway. So why waste a sideboard slot? considering that sideboard slots are already very, very tight in this deck. Some other sideboarding equipment. So Vambrace. Vambrace was only in the deck basically for Enigma, because you want to get rid of the Spectral Shields as quickly as possible when they spawn them. You don't want to have to deal with the Spectral Shields blocking your daggers. And sometimes, like, if they want Spectral Shield on board, you can attack with Mist Blade, and if they go no blocks, you can activate Vambrace, and you still get your Mist Blade connects, and you get the on hit effect. So that's pretty good. So it kind of forces them to respect your Mist Blade as long as you have Vambrace around. And next we have Flick Knives. So this is a pretty good card. Usually you can play it into we usually play into Victor and KO, I guess. So some players prefer running Hurl. Some of us prefer running Flick Knives. I think it's a player preference thing. They basically do the same job, which is to just throw your Mist Blade to get some big damage turns using their banish zones. Yeah. So that's it for the equipment suite. We're gonna move on to the main deck. Right.
Alright.
So from the main deck, we're gonna start off with the raid attack reactions. We have 3 Hiss and 2 Venomous Bite. So they are just good attack reactions in general. But the downside is that you just got to remember that you got to pitch a blue to get the second line of text. So I think in the finals, I didn't pitch a blue, I just used my Tunic resource to give it a +3. And it's fine that way sometimes too. So we were actually debating between a 3-off or a 2-off. So we actually tested 1, 2, and 3. So 1 felt too little, 3 felt too much, so we settled on 2. Okay. There's no hard math behind it. Yeah, it was just 3. Kind of like instead of playing so we were pretty settled on 3 Hiss. Yep. That's for sure. But then we weren't so settled on the Venomous Bite count, and we decided that, well, we didn't like 1, we didn't like 3, so let's just play 2. Okay. Yeah. Yep, so these are the main 9 attacks that we have in the main board. So E-Strikes, Leave No Witness, and CNC. So E-Strike is just generally a pretty good card that helps you fix your hands. And then sometimes you have too many cards, it helps you can use Go again. Or you can just draw a card, whatever. Because most of the times, the new deck has pretty much good cards. So you wouldn't mind drawing a card. And then Leave No Witness is just an Arsenal Disruption, a very good Codex target, 0 for 4. And then if it hits, you get to banish a top deck of your opponent. The top deck of your opponent. Sometimes you get a good card out of it, or sometimes you get a blue card out of it. So still pretty good. Yep. Yeah, so if you hit a red, you get a silver. You hit a yellow, it's probably going to be an out of war, right? And then if you hit a blue, you get to play it. So it's pretty good. Next, the quintessential card of all decks, CNC. Yep. I do not need to speak more. It does what it does, which is to destroy your opponent's arsenal. Yep. So there's 3 more raids. It's just a nick. It's pretty good with all your 0 for, your one attack cards. Prognosis, bonds, anything. It's still pretty good. The second line of text, which is to help you banish an extra card, synergizes really well with what's that blue card called? With Persuasive Prognosis. Because if you banish an action card, you still get to heal 1. So it's kind of like so much value. Okay. Yeah. And it aligns with your game plan, because you can banish a blue and you get to take some. You get to use it for new later on. So moving on to the only 3 yellows that you have in the deck, Codex. I don't need to explain this. This is just an amazing card. You give your opponent a frailty. You get to disrupt them. You get to force them to discard a card. So in the main board, we have 6 Transcend cards. So they're all pretty common. Maybe except it was Stir the Pot or Preserve Tradition. So for why we played Stir the Pot, I'm gonna try to explain as best as I can according to what Chu Heng told me. But basically, you get to shuffle your deck.
No shit.
And sometimes, Preserve Tradition is not active, especially early on, because for example, like you go second and your opponent passes, you have nothing to target the Preserve on, so you just play Stir the Pot. You still get to trigger it anyway. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes Preserve, you get your card passed over by the opponent. So whatever, you just play a card that they cannot interact with anyway. Yep.
Why 6 only though?
Oh, we have 6. We have a 7th in the sideboard, which is the Sacred Art. But in most matchups, we play 6. Oh, okay. We didn't. 5 felt too little, 7 felt too much, so we settled on 6. Okay. There's no other reason behind it. So like I said just now, this Persuasive Prognosis is an amazing card, because you get to take a card away from your opponent, you get to heal some life, and all around, whenever you play it, your opponent has to respect it, because they got to think, does he have just a nick behind? If your tuning is a 3, does he just have a normal A-React behind? Or does he have a blue Transcend card behind to banish a card of the... to force you to banish a card anyway. So yeah, that's why this card is amazing. For levels is generally just a very good card because it makes your Mistblade so threatening, right? If your Mistblade hits, you get to choose 2 modes. If you pitch an extra card, you get to go all 3 modes.
Yeah.
If your Mistblade hits, yeah. So Surgical as well. Surgical, it interacts with your A reacts, so it kind of always forces your opponent to give a card down, and also you get to transcend off this because it's a blue. So essentially, when you play and transcend, you get 2 cards off your opponent. Yeah.
Right.
And for bonds is almost the same thing as persuasive, but in the sense that it does a +3 damage if you activate 3 or more A reacts that turn, right, on this attack. But what I do not really like about bonds is that it's very susceptible to snag. So against the blue pitch players, you got to be very careful when you play this card, because if they snag you, your turn is basically as good as nothing. Yeah. So Bonds of Attraction and Out of Desire, mine. So Bonds, it kind of sometimes against certain decks it helps you progress your game plan, which is to get some of the good blues in the banish zone, because when it hits, you get to choose a card, right? So even if they banish a red, you can choose to banish a blue. In other matchups, you can use this, and when it hits, you get to banish you get to heal some life back, yeah, basically, and help to thin the deck out. So sometimes some players will say that we're playing to fatigue. Then whatever it is, if you're playing to fatigue, this card basically forces 1 card down from your opponent. Otherwise, they're gonna lose a card from the deck anyway, and you get to heal some life. Yeah. So for Out of Desire Mine, it basically does the same thing, except that there's a bonus tax, right? If it hits a blue, you get to heal 1 and draw 1. And it's really, really, really good, especially against when you go towards the second cycle where most decks usually have blues left. So like maybe in the Mirror, against Victor, they mainly have blues left. And what this does is basically tells you, if it hits, I get to draw 1, I get to heal 1. And most of the time, it still forces a card down. Yeah, but I think the most impressive usage I had of this card was when I played round 4 against Shoma. I played this card and he went no blocks. And I managed to get his last Persuasive out of his deck, and I got to draw 1 and heal 1. And so I guess I got really lucky there, because Shoma at the end of the game told me that this was his last Persuasive, which he has been saving for since the start of the game. I didn't get to see a Persuasive because I think he sunk it down with Sync or something. But when I managed to hit it, he was like, oh no. Because he was saving his just a nick for that card. And I got rid of it.
Right.
And since he went to Banish Zone, I could use it with Noo's ability.
Right.
So I basically I got to heal 1, I got to draw 1, now I get a good card to use.
Right.
So Double Trouble. So this was probably off the Pro Tour top 8 list. Since we were playing like 5 A reacts, we wanted to have some blues that could interact with the Mystic A reacts. Yeah. So 1 Warmonger. This was basically we were respecting Azaleas. And that's about it. Yeah. So we just one.
One is respect.
Yeah, 1 is respect. It's really bad when you draw like multiples of it at the same time, and we couldn't afford to find any more space. Because you still want your 1 attacks to turn on your looking for scrap. So we decided that, we just play 1. And if we get it, we get it. Yep. Some of the other blues that we played were 2 Infects and 1 Desires of Flash. This is probably like a flex, these 2 cards are probably like the flex blues that we thought of. The Desires of Flash was just that sometimes towards the end of when you go towards the second cycle, your opponents only have attack actions left. So when you play it, you basically get to heal 1. And that's all you really want to do. Yeah. And then for Infect, it's just a pretty good card, because if it hits, you get to create a Blood Rot Pox. And it's really irritating, I would say, like against decks like Enigma. Because like if it lands, they don't get to keep the ward for free. But these were the blues that Chu Heng and I eventually settled down upon. So we'll move on to one of the amazing cards, which is really, really expensive right now, the Weakest Link. Pretty good against Zen, because they have Cheese, they have Out of Wars. Otherwise, it's just a 2 for 6. It's also pretty good against KO, because sometimes they have so many Bear Fangs, Walrus, and whatever. Even if it doesn't force them to discard a card, the fact that you can take a look at their hand and know what is going to come up or what you're going to face during your turn makes your blocking decisions a lot easier. So next we have a Siren's Call. Probably a very good card against decks that play a lot of blues. So Enigma, Zen, I would say KO, Victor, the list goes on, right? So especially against Zen, sometimes what you can do is that when they block their Travels, you can play this card and just take away the Chi. So basically you just negated the equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did this against CYK Liner. He blocked with his Travels, and I looked at him straight in the face. Siren's Call, can I have your Chi now? And then he's like, oh no, his turn just ended, because he was relying on it to get off a turn.
Okay.
Yeah, so which is why this card is so powerful, because it forcefully takes a card out from your opponent. Sometimes in the Mirror it's also pretty good, because you get to force your opponent to block your cards. and basically deny them a big turn. When it comes to the DVX, we have 3 Oasis. I mean 3 Sync, 2 Fate, and 2 Oasis, right? Chuing only plays 1 Fate. He plays another tech card over it. I prefer to play 2 Fates because as you can tell from the video, they said that my favorite hero is Bravo, so I enjoy blocking 4, which is why I took this card because it writes block 4 at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't want to think too much. I just wanted to block 4, so I just, you know what, I'm just gonna play this card because it blocks 4/4.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know some players prefer like 3 and 1. I like 3 and 2 just because I get to block 4 more.
So when do these come in?
I like these cards against decks where I need to block a bit more. So Azalea, Victor, say sometimes KO and Zen 2. But depending, I might not bring in all of them. Depending on whether it's a top 8 scenario or not. Because sometimes top 8 you get to see whether they have snack and you get to decide your sideboard accordingly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So next we have Oasis. So this is Kano Respect. We have no choice.
Yeah.
If you don't respect the Kano, then you're just gonna lose. Yeah. Sometimes you still can cheese a win out. If like they're forced to go off amidst all your disruption and you have Oasis to stop their wildfire, you just win from there because they did 0 damage and they just blew all the equipment. Yeah. So that's why we have 2 Oasis. It still serves its purpose very well. Next, I'm gonna talk about 3 Looking for Scrap. So this is basically a card that helps you go wide.
Right.
Which is why, as I mentioned just now, we cannot play too many non-1 attack blues. Because the effect right is that you got to banish a 1 attack card. An interesting thing that you can do is that you can always, like from the Pro Tour games, when you watch Shoma, you can actually discard, or you can choose to banish a dagger. So it has its utility in other ways. You can always choose to banish a dagger if you want to. So this definitely came in against Justin in the finals because he was playing a fatigue dash or control dash or whatever kind of dash you want to put it. You need this to push damage because he's busy setting up items. You want to go as aggressive as possible. Okay. So you want these cards when you're trying to be the aggressor in the matchup. So we are probably talking about Enigma decks that are trying to prolong the game. Your goal becomes to shorten the game.
Okay.
Yeah. So next, we have 3 cards.
Okay.
So first, we're going to talk about the Secret Art. So Secret Art is our tech card for the, I would say, Mirror and to Victor. But then after I lost to the Blue Pitch players, they came over to tell me that this is a high risk, high reward card. So I felt very sad because maybe I shouldn't have brought it in because when this card got banished, I lost the game from there. So I was like, no, I just lost.
I see.
Yeah, so every new player knows in the Mirror, if you get to banish this off your opponent, it's probably game over for your opponent. So whoever gets to resolve this card is very strong in the Mirror, I would say.
Why? Can you explain?
Because you get to banish. So basically, you get to choose one of the 3 modes, and it's very flexible. You rarely choose the last mode if you banish this off your opponent, but most of the time you choose the second mode, which is banish 2 cards. And if you get to take away 2 surgicals from your opponent's graveyard for free, you basically ask them to pass the turn back to you.
Right. Okay.
So this is why this card is in. Sometimes we bring it in against Victor. Okay, next. I'm going to talk about Death Touch first.
Okay.
So some players don't really like Death Touch. We found it was okay. We took inspiration from Xing. I think he played it in his Pro Tour list. Overall, we felt that this is it's a pretty good card with Codex, in the sense that you can dagger, play this card, and then take it back from the discard pile and play it out. And it essentially forces them to block. Otherwise, they're going to get one of the 3 tokens. You rarely choose the inertia mode unless you're against Enigma. Sometimes they block out the hand and then they have Arsenal. You just choose the inertia and just take away the card. Most of the time, you opt to choose for Blood Rod. And that's why we think it's a pretty good card. And it's a 6 power, so sometimes it pops the Prism as well. But of course, the downside is that it can only be played from Arsenal, right? It can't be played from hand. So the sad thing is that sometimes you draw it and like, oh no, what do I do with it? So you gotta either go, I block with it and hope that I draw my Codex, or 2, I put in an Arsenal and hope that I can use it the next turn. Yeah. But overall, because it's 1 cost, it synergizes really well with Tunic. Okay, so we go to the last card. So this was a pretty last minute addition. It was either between this card or Censor, right? Yeah. So why did I play Blanche? Because I enjoy being a Guardian player. I like to attack 3 for 7. So it's 3 cost, attack for 7. Yeah. So that's why I played this card. But on a more serious note, it's probably because it's pretty good into Prism. I wanted a card that could kind of respect Prism, throw some damage, sometimes in the mirror, and which is why I settled on this card, because you know, if it hits, your Prism opponent's color gets turned off, so they don't no longer go against. So their yellows are now whatever color they can be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So which is why, and also because it's 7 power, it stops the Herald of Triumph pretty well, and it overall it bolsters your deck with an additional popper count that could be useful.
Okay.
Yeah, but the downside is it blocks 2, so there's that. But with great power, you know, you gotta give up something, right? And another reason why I didn't choose to play Censor is because in testing I always name the wrong card in Censor, and I didn't want to have the embarrassing decision of naming the wrong card. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take away that stress and just play a card that is easier for me. Yeah. So the testing process began, I would say, sometime after Nationals or Pro Tour. I knew that we got hit with the bonds ban for Zen. So context, I was playing Zen in Nationals, but then the bonds got banned, and as I was playing the deck, I felt like, oh my god, I'm losing gas too quickly because I got to preserve my deck, and then sometimes you just don't join the gas as quickly as possible. And hence I decided that, well, you know what, let's just play something else. And in my opinion then, I thought like Nu was also a very good deck. And this was proven at the Pro Tour, where I think out of the top 8 spots, there were 3 Nus. So it kind of sent a message that, you know, Nu and Zen kind of stood side by side as top decks of the meta. And in order to do well, I would say you just have to choose one of the two. But why I think that Nu was the pick for me was because I felt like he had a pretty decent Zen matchups. A pretty decent Zen matchup, and I felt more comfortable playing into it, because sometimes the Zen mirror just spirals out of control without any sort of gameplay. But overall, I still think the Zen is a very good deck, just because out of nowhere you can win the game. Like you go Ancestral Harmony, you hit a card, you go out of war, and you just 45 damage, and the game ends. So I'll say that, you know, it was a very tough choice between Nu and Zen. I just chose Nu because I didn't want to play Zen. That's all.
Okay, well, that's a deck tech. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me over, Esmond.
Yeah, congratulations once again.
Thanks, Esmond.
All right.
See you.